Hello everyone, this is the Vortex Chicken and welcome back to Explosive Bunnies. So, if you're wondering why I didn't upload a video 2 weeks ago, I had COVID. Also, you should probably join our Discord server. Link in the description if I remember. Anyway, sorry I couldn't get a video to you 2 weeks ago, but I'm back, I exist. And here is a video showcasing all of the new weapons from the 1.4.3 update because I glossed over a lot of these in my original 1.4.3 update video. So what we're going to be doing is trying out all 9 of these weapons. 9? No, 8. All 8 of these weapons. I did bring along a Snapthorn and some bee armor and some feral claws to help with the summoning stuff. But otherwise, this is exactly the same loadout that I had for the Deer Clops with King Slime Gear challenge that I did 4 weeks ago. And I will also be fighting the same boss, Deer Clops, to test them out. So I believe... yeah, I didn't forget the target dummies. That's good. So what I'm going to be doing is testing these out on 5 target dummies for multi-target, 1 for single target, and then the Deer Clops for actual in-game doing stuff. So, let's see. Abigail's Flower is a summon weapon that you kind of just pick up off the ground, it turns out. Let's see if it's one of the ones that you can just run through the target dummy. Yeah, it is. Okay. So you can kind of get a sense of its damage by doing this, but with summon weapons, it's really hard to gauge their damage on target dummies. So, this is like a Stardust Dragon or the Tiger thing, the Desert Tiger Staff, in that, you can only summon one, but it gets better the more you summon it. Like you see, the damage is higher now that I've summoned it 3 times. So, yeah, let me try this against the Deer Clops. This is a beginning of the game weapon, so it's not going to be all that successful. But yeah, let's just see what this is like against Deer Clops. This is actually chipping in some damage. I am wearing bee armor. I mean, it's definitely not as good as obsidian armor, but it's mid to late hard mode summoner armor. Yeah, I feel like this is actually a pretty overpowered weapon for the stage you can get it at, because, I mean, look at the damage that it's doing. This is pretty good. And I am tired of this thing being around, so time to just shred it with Phantasm. Okay, let's see what, yeah, I got Lucy the Axe, which I will be showcasing even though it's not technically a weapon. Some lesser healing potions, I have better ones, and an Ibrella. Cool. Okay. So anyway, I feel like this is actually a really good weapon to get really early on. I am going to check the wiki to make sure that I'm right, that you can get it immediately. Okay, so it says, yeah, it can be found uncommonly as a plant growing on grass near a placed tombstone, regardless of world progression. That is cool. So this is kinda overpowered if you get it super early. Anyway, enough of that. It's time to get on to the melee weapons. The Bat. This also seems somewhat overpowered for something that you can get pre-boss. Like, that just dealt a 57 damage crit. And it looks like you can hit up to 3 enemies at a time. This is pretty good. There's 70 damage in one hit. Okay. But, I don't even want to try this against the boss, because you know what close-range weapons like this are like against bosses. So that's really the one knock against this weapon, I would guess. Otherwise, it seems like a great weapon. It is slow, but it has great base damage. You would be good to get this from a bat very early on. So it turns out it actually does restore health to the player. The bat, not the ham bat. I have not started doing anything with the ham bat. So, time to take damage. Oh, Explosive Bunny will do that. Shout out to the channel. What the? Come on. Just cooperate. There we go. Okay. So it does not work on target dummies. But it probably does work on the Deerclops. I will get myself killed fighting the Deerclops, so there's no reason to have done the Explosive Bunny thing. Yeah. You see that one time we got a hit in and it showed a green 1. Yeah, it works. So, time to die you. If this is gonna be like an overpowered weapon that can just eliminate the boss, I'm gonna need some better arrows. Because the thing about the Phantasm with Jester's arrows is that it shoots multiple arrows at a time, and Jester's arrows pierce, which means that they cause invincibility frames and only one arrow will hit at a time. So that is kind of stinky. I just noticed I have a Zenith. So no more Phantasm and Jester's arrows. I can just have the most overpowered weapon in the game. Okay. So, the Bat is pretty cool. As I already discussed, it's got really good base damage for the time that you can get it. It is very short range, but it also restores health to you when you use it against actual enemies. Now, the Hambat. The Hambat is a hard mode weapon. I think you get it from Pigrons. I'm right. You get it from Pigrons. And it's basically the Bat, but it deals a little more damage and it's a heck lot faster. So, same short range issue, but it's got really good damage for being available at the start of hard mode. And with it, you can hit 3 target dummy size enemies at a time. Okay, moving on. Tentacle Spike. Okay, it is actually dropped by enemies in both the Corruption and the Crimson. And yeah, okay, so this mod, this update, seems to be really obsessed with the short-range swords, because it's added 3 of them, and nothing to knock them. I think they're pretty underused because of their short range and people being like, I don't want to get killed! But, yeah, so it's pretty much the same thing, same range. You can hit 3 target dummy-sized enemies. Same drawback, the range. And this seems to be about the same speed as the Hambat. Hambat is slightly faster. But the Tentacle Spike seems to have better DPS slightly. Or actually, it seems like it has about the same DPS as the Bat. Because it's about twice as fast and has about half the base damage. Okay, so I think we're good, because I don't want to test these 3 on a boss, because I'll just die. I think we're good to move on to the weapons dropped by the Deerclops, starting with Houndius Shootius. This is a sentry summon weapon. Of course, since it's a sentry, it won't do anything on a target dummy. But I will pair it with the rest of my summony stuff. Just click this a bunch of times. And then I will fight Deerclops with all of the summon weapons, and we'll see how this is. So this is a post-Deerclops weapon, but it's a sentry. Why does this always happen? There's someone knocking at my door. So I seem to be cursed when fighting the Deerclops, but somehow I'm still alive. I don't understand that. I'm gonna have to look through the footage. But, time to see how all of this summony stuff works. Yeah, if I'm standing still, I get hit a lot. How? What happened? I'm gonna have to look through the footage. See, Houndius Shootius can't shoot through platforms, so unless it's below... well, actually, can it shoot? It can sometimes shoot. Oh, it's the target dummy that's stopping it from hitting. If we... yeah, okay. Yeah, so this seems pretty good. I don't think that the Houndius Shootius is a weapon that you would want to build around, because it's a sentry, and sentries are always terrible. But I do think that I mean, there's no downside to using it, because it's the only pre-hard mode sentry, other than the, Old One's Army sentries. So, it's good to have, but it's not a game changer. Now, Lucy the Axe. It's not a sword, it's an axe, but it seems like it has pretty good damage. Also, it says stuff. It's been talking to me this whole time. Like, this is prime chopping weather. It's basically asking you to chop down trees. It's promoting deforestation, which is the one thing I don't like about it. Like, you know, save the trees, save the planet, save the fish, save the sea monsters, all that good stuff. But it's a really good axe. Like, it's fast and stuff. Now, I hate to say it, but I really don't care about axes and stuff. Like, I usually just hang around with a copper axe until I can get a molten ham axe. But this might change that, because it's really fast. And what? Whoa! This is some DPS. Compare this to the Tentacle Spike. It's much faster, and it has a lot better damage. I mean, significantly better damage, not all that much. But, wow! Okay. Let's compare this to the Hambat. Lucy the Axe is faster than the Hambat. So, this update was basically like, let's shove all the short-range swords we can at the player and make them use them. Because these are actually really good to have. Like, can you imagine just obliterating slimes with this? And accidentally cutting trees? Yeah, this is not a weapon, but it's better than a lot of weapons you can get at this time. Anyway, I'm going to get rid of this, and we're going to try out the Pumatic Horn. This also has really good DPS. And the cool thing is that it shoots anything. Like, look at this. It shoots plants, gems, bones, blocks, like stone blocks, seeds. Did I mention gems? I think I did. I think overall it's a better weapon than everything else that I've done, simply because range. It's more practical, and it's also much cooler because it's weird. It shoots anything, and that's funny and stuff. The melee stuff has really good DPS. This has pretty good DPS, good range too, and it's funny. So that's a 3 out of 3. Now the Weather Pane. I remember thinking that this was really good, but I don't exactly remember what it does. Oh, it's like the Tome of Infinite Wisdom, Tome of Infinite Cheese. Okay, video idea. Weather Pane versus Destroyer. And I don't have mana potions. But yeah, you can see how this could be pretty good. So I'm gonna try out these two, the Pumatic Horn and the Weather Pane, on the Deerclops. And then I'll make some final remarks, say a bunch of stuff, and maybe we'll fight the Moon Lord. Okay, you can already see this is a post-Deerclops weapon because it's dropped by Deerclops, but you can already see that it's chipping away at Deerclops' health, and if I were any better at dodging, it would allow me to stay safely away from all of the Deerclops' attacks. So this is a score in terms of weapon to use against bosses. I can see this shredding Queen Bee or Skeletron. How am I slow? Okay. And then this. Ooh, it's homing! It is homing! Hello! I'm glad I tried this out against Deerclops, because it is homing. Okay. In terms of DPS, it's not nearly as good as anything else that's dropped from Deerclops, with the exception of the sentry weapon. But it's homing and it's piercing, which not only does it give me Razorblade Typhoon flashbacks, the homing puts it on par with any other weapon. Yeah, don't ask, it's as good as the Zenith because it's homing. But no, I feel like you could use this against Skeletron and not be disappointed with the results. I feel like Pumatic Horn would give you better results against most bosses, just because of the damage and stuff. Like, look at this damage. It's a lot better than... Like, if you have totally super garbage aim, like, worse aim than me by a long shot, and that's saying something because I have terrible aim. But if you have, like, the worst aim in the world, then no question use the Weather Pane. And then Weather Pane seems like a really good weapon to use in just normal situations. So I would use Pumatic Horn on bosses, and the rest on normal enemies. The melee ones and the Weather Pane. So anyway, I'm about to die because I stink at this boss. So just die. Okay. So it seems like the developers, well, either most things from Don't Starve Together are short-range swords, or the developers felt like short-range swords were really overused and they wanted to use this update to fix that. But either way, they shoved a bunch of short-range swords down our throats, and I think that in future, these short-range swords will be a lot more used by new players trying to change their playstyle. This might kind of revamp the melee class in pre-hard mode. Anyway, final remarks about every one of these weapons. Snapthorn, not a 1.4.3 weapon, but I really like it, so I'm gonna say that. Abigail's Flower. It's rare and summon, but if you can get some summon upgrades early, it can be really good. The problem with it being an early game summon weapon is that there's no, like, early game summon stuff aside from the Flink stuff. But it is really good in its own right. The BAAAACK, same thing. I think it's kind of overpowered for the time that you can get it, but it is pretty rare. It's slow and short range, but it has great base damage. And funny enough, I think it would be great against bats in particular. The Hambat is a hard mode weapon. An early hard mode weapon, and you know what I feel like about melee and early hard mode. It stinks, because by the moment you get close to anything, it will kill you, but if you can get close enough to something without it killing you, this is a really good weapon to use against it. The Tentacle Spike. Everything I said about the BAAAACK, except replace really good base damage with pretty good speed. Houndius Shootius. Sorta underwhelming, but it has good base damage, and there's no reason not to use it if you're a summoner. Because it's a sentry, and no one uses sentries, so there are no other sentries to use. So, you know, it's just an upgrade to your damage. And I will ramble on about this for 20 more minutes and cut it. Lucy the Axe is an axe, which means that it chops wood, but it's also a pretty good short-range sword. The Pumatic Horn is the first thing on this list that is not either a summon weapon or a short-range sword. And while it doesn't have infinite range, it has the best range of anything on this list, aside from the Weather Pane, which we haven't gotten to. And its damage is not lacking. Its damage is really good. So I think of everything on this list, this is the best weapon to use against bosses, and it's also kind of funny. The Weather Pane. Great for multiple enemies. It's also homing. So, I would say this, along with all the melee weapons, has just made it easier to fight normal enemies in pre-hard mode. And then finally, the deer thing. It's not a weapon, but it summons the deer clops. Because I just want to, I am going to try out the Pumatic Horn against Skeletron, because I think it would be really good. Okay, got the lighting. Okay, Skeletron, here I come. By the way, I'm not using Ranger anything, or Melee anything, or Mage anything, so the damage that you saw for those weapons was completely base damage. I'm also not using, like, reforged weapons or accessories. So, yeah, this is just the base damage of the weapon being shown. So that makes me feel like these weapons are even better than they seem. Also, I'm fighting Skeletron with no arena, so I'm probably gonna lose. But I really like the damage of this weapon. Like, this might be the optimal weapon to use against Skeletron if you've beaten Deerclops. It definitely contends with Bee's Knees. Okay, so I've got the hands down, which means that this is just gonna be the easiest boss fight from now on. So I really like this weapon, because yeah, this I want to do a video where I test this and the Bee's Knees against Skeleman and see which is really better. I'm assuming it's going to be the Bee's Knees, but this will definitely come close. Anyway, I beat Skeletron with the Pumatic Horn, with no arena and no trouble, so I feel like that's a testament to how good the weapon is. And it's not a knock against any of the other weapons. Like, I feel like the Pumatic Horn would be probably the worst among these weapons for just fighting normal enemies, with the exception of Houndius Shootius. But definitely the best for bosses. These are all really good weapons, and I feel like all classes will benefit from having this update and the weapons that it provides. And I feel that you will benefit from having seen this video, maybe. And I also feel that I am going to say bye in like 5 seconds. Bye.